What's up gamers, DreamcastGuy here, reviewing today Diablo III Eternal Collection for Nintendo Switch. It seems like in every single piece of fiction, you see that the world can just never stay safe. It's constantly being stuck in this cycle where evil rises, heroes show up to stop it, we defeat the bad guys, only to watch them later come back even stronger. It's a timeless struggle in every single story that you see, but in Diablo, that's the entire fun of it. That's why you keep going through this freaking game, and honestly, right up front, this is my favorite dungeon crawler ever, which is part of the reason that I want to review this so badly. Playing this game over and over again and unlocking better loot and magic, customizing your specialties, and trying to go into even deeper, more complicated dungeons is why this is so addictive. But with the Nintendo Switch, we're at last getting a fresh twist on this, which is handheld mode. The ability to take this incredible action anywhere at any time and play it with any friend that happens to be next to you. This does have online play, but what I was really most interested personally is couch co-op and the ability to actually sit down next to a friend of mine with a separate Switch and play together. And I have to say that all of this works perfectly. It's so cool to actually see this game in all of its massive glory contained in such a tiny box. But let's talk about what this game is and why I think that it runs so spectacularly. So, the Eternal Collection is a compilation of all the different downloadable content that's ever been released for the game over the course of all these years. This includes the entire extra expansion, which is basically an extra campaign act, and the Necromancer DLC. Now, if that's the last of it, I wouldn't be too impressed, but there's lots of little changes in there as well, like special bonus modes, and things that give you little mini-games to keep you coming back and try and fight even harder fights. I will say that this stuff is still pretty old. I mean, nothing in this game is technically new content other than a few aesthetic choices. Part of this bundle that was included is some Nintendo-specific skins, like being able to have a Ganondorf outfit or a Cuckoo pet from Zelda, and that's all interesting but not super important, mostly because, quite frankly, this game is so good you're going to be playing it repeatedly just for the fun of it instead of for the silly aesthetics. But I want to talk a lot about the graphics real quick because this was one of my major concerns. This is a game where tons and tons of stuff is happening on the screen. In order to try and drop down all your different totems and unleash all your massive magics, you're going to need to be able to see what's going on as cleanly as you possibly can, and thankfully you do, but I will say that they definitely lowered the resolution quite a bit. If I had to guess, it seems like this is based on the Xbox 360 programming simply because there is a gentle blurriness to the character models, but not the environments. It seems like they just turned down the general resolution of everything to keep the action and the speed at 60 frames a second. And really, I have to say that this was a very wise choice because when me and my friend beat the entire game in the middle of the night and we're trying to yell at each other to avoid that next big explosion and try and avoid getting sucked into a sinkhole or something like that, I'm not going to care about how crisp it looks so much as the fact that I want to make sure that everything is liquidy smooth, and thankfully it is. I mean, I did not see a single frame drop in every single hour of beating this game. Not a single frame drop in handheld or in docked. But let's talk about handheld for a second because obviously this is probably the main reason you've even clicked on this video. Be sure to hit like. So anyways, what this game does that's really cool in my opinion is it seems like inadvertently it was made for handheld. So there have been certainly some games in the past that I've played that I really enjoyed on Switch, but they didn't exactly adapt well to a handheld experience, where it seems like certain menus and certain stuff on the screen itself was too tiny to easily read and enjoy when it's on my tiny little screen, whereas here, it is perfect. Everything is the exact right size as the way you need it. You can see your health, your magic, your cooldowns, everything is just easily digestible, even if this is a slightly shrunken down format. And like this, there isn't really any resolution decrease that I could see. I think that the entire game was actually targeted towards this handheld mode and later upscaled to work in docked. Now, there is something that I do think was a bad choice, and something that I didn't really care for because it doesn't seem like it works as well as they probably hoped. So something that they were advertising along with the idea of handheld is single Joy-Con play, meaning that theoretically you could just sit down at a convention like I go to all the time, disconnect both of your Joy-Cons, hand one to a friend, and immediately start exploring the entire world of Sanctuary with a single Joy-Con. But that doesn't really work as good as I think they hoped. Now, it's just the fact that you are missing so many buttons. In order to play this game with a single Joy-Con, you're able to cast your own basic spells, but you can't do anything else, like Town Portal. You can't open your map. You can't really do anything like save or mess with the menus. You can only just open up your character menu and attack. You can't really do any of the other stuff like action roll. It's just one of those things where it functions, but it seems like they needed a couple extra buttons in order to actually replicate the full experience of playing this on systems. I didn't get a chance to try it co-op, but really, I didn't want to. It's one of those things where I feel like if I was going to be trying Joy-Con play, I would need my partner to have a full controller, because there is no way that I'm going to be able to really defend myself as well as I need to by myself with this single little controller. I would need help in order to beat the game with this. It's not necessarily a giant detriment, it's just one of those times where somebody had a brilliant idea that didn't really follow through. But let's just talk for a bit about how great this freaking game is, in case for some reason you've never tried it. Diablo is extremely exciting simply for the fact that it's all about making your own story. The game itself is not particularly long, it can be finished in about 8 hours. But the real glory of it, the part that keeps you coming back again and again, is the mere fact that it's made to be rebeaten. There are multiple difficulty modes that constantly ramp up until you get all the way to the highest one that's going to make you grind your teeth because it's so difficult. And if you want some extra added challenge, like I do, you could do stuff like make it where your character is actually going to only have one life. If you die in hardcore mode, your character is essentially deleted. You can never play them ever again, which really makes an extra thrill to trying to explore all these really epic, cool crypts and stuff. Now, extra stuff on top of that is that every one of the different classes plays very, very differently, and that is probably the coolest part about this. Part of the included DLC is the Necromancer class, which was originally downloadable content, and he is so freaking messed up and ridiculously awesome. The mere sight of me walking around with my zombie army, charging up my next super attack, throwing spears made out of bone, or ripping organs out of my enemies to make a suit of armor to cover myself and absorb damage is so freaking cool, it just defies words. And the fact that it's in here as part of the included package is so tight. This is one of those things where, honestly, if you have played this game before and you're trying to just think, well, should I pick it up again? I've never tried the DLC, definitely pick it up. All the downloadable content being in a single package is very, very spectacular, but on top of that, I really think that if you've played this before and you see this, I still say that it's worth picking up simply because handheld mode is something that dramatically changes the feel of this experience. I actually played this on a plane, in a car, and just while walking around my house, and it all worked so seamlessly. It's one of those rare games that unintentionally seems like it was made from the ground up to be a handheld game. Being able to play it on a TV TV is awesome, and getting to sit down with a friend and actually like put it up on the big screen, that is of course cool. But seeing it in your hands, anywhere, anytime, is so good that I think that everybody should pick it up simply for that. This is really one of those projects that I think, surprisingly, I'm gonna have to put on my list as a must-own Nintendo Switch game, despite the fact that it is a little bit lowered in the resolution department. This is definitely not the most graphically appealing version of Diablo, and it's definitely not the most beautiful Nintendo Switch game, but it's so undeniably fun that you instantly forget all that when you pick up the controller and just start slaying the armies of hell. Okay, so we've heard a little bit of good and a little bit of bad, but let's go over the ratings board and put a big number on it. I am giving the Diablo III Eternal Collection a 9.5 out of 10. I've seen a lot of people online recently saying, I've never tried a Diablo game, should I get this one? And I gotta say, hell yes. You don't need to worry about any of the lore or anything like that because it's all so brilliantly explained within this singular story. Grab it, I don't care what it takes, this is going to be the holiday game that you need to pick up, whether you've played it before or not. Thanks so much for watching, gamers. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, share with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. But do me the biggest favor of all and keep dreaming. Oh, hey, I was just playing a little bit of Grand Theft Auto on my Darth Vader PSP. Are you curious what I'm going to come out with next? Well, if you click this button, you'll be subscribed to be the first to know. Also, if you click over here and here, you can see my latest review and my latest top 10. I promise, it was super good. Or it was really bad, and I'm sure you can just make fun of me in the comments. Either way, it'll be a lot of fun. Thanks so much for watching.